What up? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And look at you. You done stumbled upon little OTB Saints, where we bring you all the latest black and gold coverage.
Who are the Saints going to draft? Who's going to be their quarterback? What does the salary cap look like? All that information and more.
Hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe. Let's talk about the New Orleans Saints as the Saints get another big win, 24-6. That's now 2 in a row. They beat Tommy Cutlets and the Giants. I'm trying to think about how to handle this. There's a lot of good to break down within the game itself that we can get into. The big picture conversation, I think, is complicated, right? Because, Jake, if you're a player or a coach and you've been surrounded by negativity, well, you go out and you do something like this, and you expect people to be like, yeah, like, right, okay, great, this is awesome. And again, there's a lot of good in there. The defense is dominant.
Yeah.
The red zone continues to be really good. You now scored in 9 of your last 10 trips there, not even including the 23-yard touchdown pass to Juwan Johnson. So you're improving in the ways that we've said we want you to improve, and yet many will leave this game and still be kind of mad because of the larger picture, kind of how the season's gone as a whole. And it's like, I don't not understand that, right? Because I applaud the improvement. Like I said, I'm someone who really believes in enjoying the journey, and a win's a win. It's hard to win in the NFL, and you gotta give credit when credit's due and criticism when credit's due. And so I applaud that improvement. It's just that if I am being completely honest, I still just don't know if I buy it as a sustainable sign of things to come, right? Like, at the end of the day, it's still kind of just 24 points. It's just beating Tommy DeVito. Like, if we think about what we think about in terms of pure talent on this team, even though overcoming Olave and McCoy injuries is nice, I mean, there's no Mike Thomas out there, but it still feels like stuff that you should be doing. And the only reason why this maybe feels so surprising is because they look so much worse than we expected for much of the year. So as you can tell, I'm kind of like fumbling over myself trying to discern how I feel about this game, because I want to give credit for guys working their ass off and doing good things, but I don't know that it gives me any credit. Like, this next 3 games will decide how I feel about it. When you talk about Rams, Bucks, Falcons, like that will ultimately decide. Like, okay, you just went from Bryce Young and Tommy DeVito, now Matt Stafford's on the table. What are you gonna do against him? But I suppose credit to him for kicking the Giants' ass nonetheless.
Yeah, because every victory in the NFL is difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, to its own extent. Now, you've had the luxury of playing the Panthers and Giants, like you mentioned. They've got a combined 7 wins on the season, but still, like the Saints, they didn't really show you that they could ever beat anybody, 24-6 over the last couple of weeks, kind of leading in to the Carolina game. And now here it is, and you laid it out. Like, you know who you have. You have 2 division opponents, and you have a Rams team that's thriving, and right now the Rams would be in the postseason.
Yeah.
So that game looks completely different than it did 4 weeks ago when we were kind of lining out what the schedule would be like for the Saints. But, look, the division is right there for you. I mean, you still have the ability, knowing you have the 2 teams right there that you're paired with. And the Saints are just one of those teams that they're bad, not awful. And so, like, their draft choice right now, like, a lot of people were probably hoping that they would just, you know what, if you're not going to make the postseason, or if you're not going to make a run, just go ahead and start to maybe lose some of those games so you can get a quarterback in the draft. Well, that's just not where the Saints are right now. So you're in a position, you might as well go ahead and go win your division, at least have something that you can hold on to.
Yeah. And that's what I've always believed. It's just,
because now, I mean, now you're in a position where you're not
of-
going to get your quarterback that you want, unless you're going to have to move in the draft.
Yeah, that bad stretch, though, of 5 games, and I guess you're right. So you're saying it doesn't. I mean, at this even. Well, what if you finish 7? Well, God, I don't want to play that game. Let's say, what if you finish 7-10? Where do you draft at? But you're right. You probably still have to move up. Anyway, and who are we kidding? You haven't done it for 50 years. It's not like you're going to draft a quarterback when you pay Derek Carr $40 million. So I suppose, like, I guess that's the other element in this is, once you allow yourself to have fantasies about Jaden Daniels and the black and gold, then that's where a lot of this kind of new unwillingness to give credit for the win and to almost be like, I want you to lose comes from. But I guess you just have to let that fantasy kind of dissipate because that's all it ever was.
You'd be drafting 16 right now.
Yeah, 7-7, baby. 16.
So
I mean,
but like, look,
purgatory.
The Panthers, the Patriots, the Cardinals, the Commanders, the Jets, the Titans, the Bush League Bolts, the Bears, like all those teams, like even if you drop the next 3, they're still going to finish ahead of you. So
yeah,
you're in a place. Hey,
by going to heaven or hell, who knows?
Might as well go ahead and go win the division.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. Adam Fields, some of the Saints. Also, can we just be positive for once? The last 2 weeks we were fairly dominant defensively, and the offense played complimentary ball. That's what we want, right? Well, I won't give the offense any credit for the Panthers game. That made you feel awful. Like there was nothing to take from that. This game was good. Derek Carr played well. The one thing that you could take from the Panthers game is that, again, you have improved in the red zone. You now scored 9 of your last 10 trips, scored touchdowns, 9 of your last 10 trips. So you're finishing drives. You're finding guys. Although it's not a red zone score, Derek Carr looking off everyone and then finding Juwan Johnson on the 23-yard touchdown is good to see. And really, Derek Carr's stat line as a whole was pretty good yesterday. 23-28, 218, 3 touchdowns, no picks.
That's what you expected. The whole year.
Yeah.
Like he's making $150 million.
It's still almost like judged against that level of monetary expectation. Yeah, it's still not. But whatever. Again, take the money out of it, and that is improvement. Like Adam said, being positive for once. That is improvement.
Yeah, I mean, Cesar Ruiz even played well. He graded in the 70s.
In the 70s. Okay.
70s.
That's
This is somebody that was, what was he?
66.
66. Yeah, rated guard in the NFL.
Adam also says, remember the Saints are down Lattimore, MT13, Chris Olave, and Ryan Ramchick. They still whoop a Giants team rolling with momentum. That's fair.
Well, you go into that this late into the season with almost any team.
Yeah.
As far as who they have. Look, the Panthers are 30th in total offense, and the New York Giants are 31st in total offense. So, those are games that you should. And credit to the Saints. They did. They went out there, and they held them, to a low point total where you could go out there and you could find a way offensively to score some points and get some wins. We expect this team to do that. So, yes, it is improved, but I don't think you're going to get a ton of attaboys because of who you're playing, and you should be going out there with the roster that you have, and you should be doing those things.
Yeah, the last 2 weeks, the defense did. If Dennis Allen is your head coach and you still have the majority of your best players on defense, the defense should be the strength of this team, and they've proven to be the last 2 weeks. And they have been for much of the season. I guess it's just times like the Josh Dobbs game, maybe other times like that, where they inexplicably couldn't stop people like Tyson Badgett.
Yes.
Having too much consistent success that made you concerned all of a sudden about, could Bryce Young do really well? Could Tommy Cutlets do really well? And credit to the Saints, the answer was an emphatic no, as the Saints' defensive line dominated. And I don't know why the Saints D-line had to do that to DeVito with the Italian celebration like they did, but they did, mocking the fingers pinch celebration after every big play.
That's why you should never have a hand signal.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Right? It's just like Texas. It's going to be easy. Horns down. Anything that you have, it is free game.
It's like talking trash, before the competition, which is the only way to talk trash. But again, yes, you just open yourself up for people to come after you when they have success against you. That hit from DeVito looks like it hurt too, and his head bounced off the turf. That could not have felt very good. And it looked like he was kind of feeling after that. He's kind of scared, holding on the ball. Saints end up sacking him 7 times. They hold Saquon Barkley to just 14 yards. Again, wasn't it last year when Saquon Barkley dominated you? So that was great to see.
1.6 yards per carry.
Yep. That'll get it done. Tano Passanio with the random 3-sack game. His career high. I more love seeing Brian Brzee get back there a couple times. How do we feel about Brian Brzee's rookie year?
Well, because before this game, Trey Hendrickson had more sacks than the entire Saints defensive line this season.
How many is
It was
Trey
13.5 to 13.
He's still balling. I haven't really paid as much attention
before
to
this game, and like that surprised me when I saw it because they've been okay getting after the quarterback. I mean, Granderson was the leader, so like to come out and to do this, they needed that. They needed a game like this where they could get after the quarterback. Now the Packers played the Giants last week; they didn't have a single sack, and so like for the Saints to get 7 in this one, this defensive line needed a performance like this. And Brian Brzee is somebody. He went out there. He had 2 sacks. I think he's had ebbs and flows, just like every single rookie in the NFL. But I think there's been more good than bad, certainly.
He's up to 3.5 sacks and 6 tiffles. I'm trying to think about how to contextualize that. Right? And it's from the interior. Remember, we're not talking about and sacks don't tell the whole story from even the edge, but especially not from the interior, where you're doing a lot of dirty work. You're trying to free up guys like Demario Davis, who just continues. I mean, we'll get to Davis in a second. But, Jake, what do you, like, okay, 6 passes defended as well. How do you feel about those numbers? Because how I feel is I'm not sure, maybe it's not, it feels, I guess what I'm getting at, are those successful first-round interior defensive line numbers?
I mean, I think you can see there's something there.
Yeah.
I think you can see a player that certainly has a future in the NFL. Like I said, and just like every single one of us, like there's ebbs and flows in that rookie season. Like I'm just looking at it right now, graded out, poor in the opener, and then he throws out a 77 against the Panthers. And then, a couple of weeks where it's like around the 60 mark, and then he has a stinker. He has a 30 grade against the Patriots, and then he bounces back a couple of weeks later. He has an 80 against the Colts, and then steady, and then he drops back down to 29 versus the Falcons, and then steady, and then he has 62 yesterday. So that's about probably what the Saints expected whenever they drafted him there. Again, I think there's more that you can get out of Brian Brzee. I think he is a player that's only going to get better. A couple times early in the year, he was playing pretty high. Again, those are things that rookies tend to do because he's never had to worry about leverage, even at the collegiate level, playing in a place like Clemson. He's always been bigger, faster, stronger. So all of those things will kind of come with time. But I think there's enough there to be excited about what his future looks like.
And if nothing else, it's more than Peyton Turner's ever done. And it's better than the majority of Marcus Davenport. Even rushing from
yesterday. I swear I'm not trying to take a shot, but it's going to be a shot. He did more yesterday than Peyton Turner's done in his career.
Yeah,
like just yesterday's game alone.
Yeah,
he might not have blocked a field goal, Mario, but getting 2 sacks
on IR. Is he on the team?
Yeah, he's been warming up. He hasn't been playing.
Oh, okay.
He's been jogging.
I would say that Brzee reminds me a little bit of a young Cam Jordan, like y'all are saying, a little bit different because he plays in the interior. But Cam Jordan, as a rookie, had 1 sack.
Okay, yeah.
His second year, he had 8 sacks, and then he kind of came onto the scene hard with the 12.5 sacks his third year.
I didn't even know he jumped to 8 his second year. I always thought about Cam being kind of bad for like 2 years and then randomly clicking. So no, there was a very clear line of improvement for Cam.
And it's similar. You see the flashes. Like, you see him get off of these blocks. You see his athleticism. He just kind of has to put it all together, and I think with more reps, he will.
Like, for Brzee, the pass rush is going to be his skill set.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to be in there for that in the interior. When you look at his grades, much higher when it comes to rushing the passer than playing run defense. Now, he's got to get better at the run defense portion of this, but overall on the season, we're talking 67% for pass rush, 35% against the run. So you got to get that run grade up.
He can figure it out.
And I think you can get it certainly where it's respectable and you're not a liability on first and second down.
Good passer.
But he has the ability to get after the quarterback. And so if you can work on those things during the offseason and you want to become a 3-down player, because if you're a first-round pick, regardless of position, you're going to need to be a 3-down player
on defense. Cam Jordan is the ultimate 3-down player. He played for the majority of his career. He played like over 90% of the snaps each year. He's just unbelievable in that regard. So he is the perfect person to learn from.
Hey, while we're talking pass rush, shout out to Adam Fields in the chat who says, hey, what about Zach Bond getting some run as a pass rusher? Did so well at Wisconsin. The last few weeks, it's been so apparent that he's so much more effective when he's rushing the passer off the 5 technique, off the 9 technique. He's gotten a lot better in coverage for sure, but his strength is pass rush, and he needs to have his hand in the dirt.
I think maybe I can't remember the exact interaction, but I think Pete Werner was asked, Or maybe like Zach Bond was asked about something different to the pass rush, and Pete Warner like chimed in with like he's in it now. So yes, Bond's been huge. And then what more can you say about Demario Davis, dude? Demario Davis is up to 6.5 sacks in the year, 9 tackles. He's got over 100 tackles. He's 34 years old playing that position, and he has not lost a step. I mean, he looks so fast out there. On top of all that physical skill, he's an incredible man, an unbelievable leader. Like, Demario Davis is such a shining light in a kind of sea of negativity that have been the Saints for much of the year, and a beacon of consistency in a year that has been kind of defined by its inconsistency. So shout out to Demario Davis. He continues to be very fun to watch play. How about Jimmy Graham too, boys? Jimmy Graham, 3 touchdowns his last 3 games. 37 years old, all in the red zone, too. We talk about the Saints getting it fixed in the red zone. Well, 9 of those conversions because of Jimmy Graham. Kind of crazy just thinking about his story. 37 years old, takes a full year off of football, and now this season, with 4 touchdowns, he's scored more than he did in 3 of his last 4 years playing previous to this. So they found something, and it's kind of funny because even at the beginning of the year, we're like, well, you're struggling in the red zone, and that seems to be the exact reason you kept Jimmy Graham. Why not engage with that? Well, lo and behold, it appears to be working.
It turns out like when you have someone who could be a really good red zone target and you put him in the red zone, you can score touchdowns. When you come up with a game plan that utilizes who you have on your roster, because otherwise, like, why was Jimmy Graham on the roster, right? He's not going to play special teams. He's not going to be a guy that is a mauler in the run game. No, Jimmy Graham scores touchdowns, and that's what he does because he is a giant and because he can high point the football. All these things, right? So, hey, let's put him in there, and now he's scoring touchdowns in the red zone.
Basketball player. He knows how to score, dude.
Just like Zach Bond, like Mario's talking about, he like at Wisconsin, he was an edge rusher.
Yeah,
that's what he was, and you drafted him, and I can appreciate thinking like you can make a guy move positions. I mean, I had to move positions. I get it. But it's like, oh, I'll be damned. He's really good off the edge. Well, yeah, that's what he did in the Big Ten in Wisconsin. That's why he was somebody that had high value on draft day. When you got him, you felt like it was a steal. And then you're like, no, let's make him a box linebacker. Well, that's not who he is.
Well, not only is he not a box linebacker, the most concerning thing was like you've needed pass rushers so bad. It's not like you're like, oh, we're stacked at this position, we're going to put you at linebacker. You're playing him out of position and away from a position of need. It's just really confusing.
Well, it's like how we always talk about Glenn Dorsey, where
the
Chiefs draft him, and then instead of letting him be a 3 technique, which is what he dominated all of the college football landscape with, they just made him a 0. Wow, just amazing black and gold takes right there, Jake.
I don't think I've ever heard any takes that are better than the 2 guys that just gave you that take.
And you can keep getting them by going ahead and liking, subscribing, ringing the bell to get notifications when we post. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next OTB Saints.